I'm excited for today's video, and I know at least a few of you are also. This is actually the first video I've gotten requests to do. I'm very happy that I'm able to oblige. As soon as I saw Thursday Boots dropped a waxed jacket, I knew I had to grab it to compare against my Flint and Tinder flannel-lined waxed trucker, and that's exactly why we're all here today. I'm Patrick, and this is Rocky Mountain Style. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. I do reviews, unboxings, and comparisons on boots, jackets, shoes, leather goods, flannels, watches, all sorts of stuff. I'd really love for you to be a subscriber to this channel if you enjoy this kind of content. So if you're here, if you enjoy the video, drop a like and consider subscribing. Before we start, I just want to say that I bought both of these jackets with my own money. This video is not sponsored in any way by either company, and my opinions on these jackets are solely my own and nobody else's. I will leave the link down in the description to both jackets if you want to check either one of them out after this video. Okay, so obviously we're here to figure out if the Thursday Boots waxed field jacket is as good or better than the famous Flint and Tinder flannel-lined waxed trucker jacket. I've had my Flint and Tinder for 2 cold seasons, about a year and a half in total, and I've only had the Thursday jacket for about 4 weeks. But in that 4 weeks, I've worn it as much as I could in preparation for this very video. I'm going to go through 12 categories and present the findings for each in each category, determine a winner, and then at the end, we'll see who comes out on top. First, we're going to talk about the price. On a normal day, the Thursday Boots jacket is 18 bucks cheaper than the Flint and Tinder. However, in my experience with Thursday, both with boots, jackets, and all the products they make, I don't think I've ever seen a Thursday product on sale. Now, that's of course because they say they sell for the lowest possible sustainable markup. Perhaps that's some marketing, I don't know, but in general, their prices are pretty good. But the Flint and Tinder does go on sale once a year, and it's advertised. It's not it's not a secret when it is. I believe it's sometime right as the fall is rolling in. I can't remember, but I did remember seeing it last year. So during that sale, I think you can get the jacket for something like 15% off, which drops it down to a price below the Thursday jacket. So for that reason, given that there's not a big difference and you actually can get the Flint and Tinder for a little cheaper, I'm going to go ahead and call this category a push. Next, we're going to talk about fit and feel. Just for reference, I have the Flint and Tinder jacket in a medium, and I have the Thursday jacket in a large. The first thing I can say, given that I have experience with more sizes in Flint and Tinder because I've tried a few on, I have the wool-lined wax trucker in a large, is that the Thursday large falls right in between the Flint and Tinder medium and large. So I actually kind of like that because it gives an option for people who may be between sizes and perhaps one might be too big or too small for them going one way or another. So having these two brands graded like that in between each other makes things nice for the consumer. So as far as the fits go, the medium for me on the Flint and Tinder is admittedly slightly snug through the shoulders and chest. I don't necessarily mind it that way. I bought it that way on purpose because I wanted to wear it over t-shirts, generally speaking. And over the year and a half or so I've had it and worn it, it actually has stretched a little bit in the shoulders and chest section to the point where it's kind of molded to me, and it's actually quite comfortable. Objectively speaking, I'd say the Thursday jacket probably fits me better, and you can tell me if you agree with that in the comments below as you look at these pictures. But I would say it fits better overall, but that's kind of just a subjective thing, right? What are you using it for, and what are you wearing it for is what matters. In general, the feeling of either wearing them is about the same. Similar weight, similar heft, similar look, and all that. So when I put either jacket on, I walk out thinking, hey, I'm wearing a wax jacket. It gives me that mentality. It gives me that feel. So given that fit's subjective and feel is subjective, and there's really not a big difference with either one of these, this category as well is going to be a push. The third category is exterior materials. Now, something I saw in many comments on the videos and shorts I did announcing this video or showing off the Thursday jacket when I was unboxing it, is that the Thursday is listed as 10 ounces and the Flint and Tinder is listed as 7 ounces. So we'll debunk this right now. After feeling them and looking at them, things like that, I can confidently say the Thursday jacket's weight is listed as waxed, whereas the Flint and Tinder listed weight of 7 ounces is pre-waxed. So if you go to Fairfield Textiles website, which is the company that makes the canvas for the Flint and Tinder, they tell you the pre-waxed and post-waxed weight. So 7 ounces pre-waxed, 9.45 ounces post-waxed. So really the two numbers you want to compare are 10 ounces for the Thursday, 9.45 ounces for the Flint and Tinder. So half an ounce, not very big difference. And in practice, when you're touching these jackets and feeling them, you really can't feel a difference as far as the weight goes, just on a pure weight alone. The manufacturers, obviously, I mentioned Fairfield Textiles for the Flint and Tinder out of New Jersey. The Thursday jacket uses a Hallie Stevenson from the United Kingdom. That's a fairly famous brand. They've made waxed products for barber. I guess made the material for the waxed products for some barbers, and I'm sure for dozens of other brands over the years. But I don't think they have enough panache. It's not like Gucci made the canvas or anything like that. So to me, I don't get out of bed for Hallie Stevenson's. I don't really get out of bed for Fairfield Textiles either. So with that said, there's actually a pretty big difference in the waxiness of these two jackets, based on my opinion. So the Thursday is quite a bit drier to the feel, right out of the box, and even after 4 weeks of wear, it's quite a bit drier than I was expecting when my main experience with waxed jackets been with the Flint and Tinder. So the Flint and Tinder is a lot tackier and clammier when you touch it and you feel it, and to me that indicates the presence of more wax. And in my experience with just how you touch and feel the jacket and how the jacket's temperature physically changes with the exterior temperature. If it's cold outside, the wax gets cold because it's kind of liquidy in a way. And when that touches your skin, you can feel that. So there's more wax in the Thursday. Sorry, there's more wax in the Flint and Tinder, less wax in the Thursday. However, does that really matter? That's up to you. That's more of a subjective measure, right? So for the third category in a row, exterior materials, due to the fact that they're both nice canvases made from decent companies and they pretty much are the same, it's going to be a push for the third category in a row. However, our streak of pushes will end with this next category, interior materials. Both jackets have a blanket flannel lining. That's what they call them. Not really sure I've felt a blanket that feels exactly like either one of these linings, but that's neither here nor there. But both of them feel about the same. It's starting to develop a pattern here, right? But the Flint and Tinder lists their lining as 100% polyester. The Thursday does not list the material that their lining is made out of, so you can assume it's probably a polyester or, at best, a cotton poly blend. I don't mind that whatsoever. I think for an interior piece that's got a lot of wear probably going on from rubbing on whatever you're wearing, polyester is going to hold up a little better than 100% cotton. It's going to probably pill less. It's going to last longer. So I'm actually completely fine with polyester lining on the interior. Polyester flannel lining on the interior. There's a distinction there because I wanted to talk about the sleeve lining. So the Thursday has polyester, as you normally think about polyester sleeve lining, to help you be able to slide your sleeves through or slide your arms through the sleeves a lot more easily. Now, that's a really nice feature when you're wearing a long sleeve shirt, especially a thick flannel, because it helps things slide in, nice and neat. In general, I think the blanket flannel lining on the Flint and Tinder is a little bit softer and a little bit better feeling on the skin. And since the sleeves are lined with that as well, if you're just wearing a t-shirt, I will not wear the Thursday because I hate the feeling of that polyester, quilted polyester on my skin that the Thursday has. So if I'm wearing a t-shirt, really my only option is the comfy inside of the Flint and Tinder. However, there are two distinct differences between these two jackets on the inside that the Thursday has the advantage on. One, the pockets of the Thursday, at least on the top side of the pocket, are lined with the same blanket flannel lining. The Flint and Tinder does not have any lining at all, so you just get that cold, clammy waxed canvas feeling, especially when it's cold outside. You put your hands in there, and it doesn't do a great job warming them up. In addition, the interior of the sleeve cuff on the Thursday is lined with a nice corduroy, and that corduroy also extends on the bottom of the jacket around the bottom hem. The Flint and Tinder has no such corduroy lining, and I think that's actually a really nice touch. So I'm giving this win to the Thursday. The next category is hardware. Both of these jackets use a very similarly shaped button, and they look pretty much the same. They have a slightly different color, although the Thursday color does change based on the color of the jacket. I know the black Thursday jacket has more of a gunmetal, or I'm not sure it's PVD coated, but more of a dark finish, whereas the dark olive jacket I have has an antiqued bronze. The Flint and Tinder jacket, I believe all of the different 7 colors have the same just sort of plain metallic finish, gunmetal, you could call it. But in general, I'd say the Flint and Tinder buttons are a bit thicker, a bit stockier, and feel a little bit more substantial. I actually kind of like how the Thursday buttons look a little bit better, but as far as the actual efficacy of the hardware goes, I like the Flint and Tinder better. By itself, that may not be enough to give the win to the Flint and Tinder here. However, there is one other feature related to hardware I think pushes the Flint and Tinder over the top for this category, and that is the adjustable, the adjustability that you have along the bottom hem there to cinch up the jacket if you need to. So you've got a little extra hardware there, which gives you an extra feature, and the Thursday, of course, does not have that. So for hardware, narrowly, I'm going to give this win to the Flint and Tinder. The next category is stitching and overall construction in general. Now, the thing that's most important about both of these jackets, and I think this, if we were weighting categories, this one could be fairly high, but the overall quality and feel of the construction of both jackets is pretty impeccable in my mind. I don't have a lot of experience with other wax jackets in the space. I've never had a rogue territory. I've never had a barber or anything like that. But both of these jackets feel like they're going to last me an extremely long time, to the point where I'm expecting to have to re-wax both of them. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, figuring out, the process for that, how that all works. So if I ever get there, if I'm still doing YouTube at that point, I'll certainly do a video on that and show everybody how I re-wax the jackets. But the construction on both is really nice. They're really high quality feeling garments. And the stitching on both, very good. I went over every inch of stitching on both jackets. Didn't find any major inconsistencies whatsoever. One thing to note, I don't know if this is good or bad, the stitching on the Flint and Tinder is slightly wider than the stitching on the Thursday. So you can decide for you if that makes a difference or not. Personally, I'm sure it's nothing. So the win in this category is going to go to the Flint and Tinder for one specific reason related to construction. And that, of course, is the fact that the Flint and Tinder is made in the USA and the Thursday is made in Portugal. Now, I have absolutely nothing against Portugal. I have nothing against products made overseas. Grant Stone is one of my favorite boot companies. Their boots are made in China. I have absolutely no problem with manufacturers using the most efficient resource available to them to bring a specific product to a specific market. Now, this product in this specific market, given that it's a lot of folks like me, a lot of folks probably like you, who are into heritage wear, who are into quality, made in the USA generally carries a slightly bigger stick than it would in other sectors, I would think. So the fact that the jacket is cut, sewn, and finished in Los Angeles, the fact that the canvas is sourced from an American company, although I did see reading earlier today, for the first time, I saw the phrase "made in the USA" with imported materials. So you could probably surmise then that Fairfield Textiles might use imported cotton to make the canvas, and you could probably surmise again that the polyester blanket lining on the inside is likely sourced from overseas. But the majority of the workmanship and then, of course, the ownership of the company is American. So win for Flint and Tinder here and win for Uncle Sam. The next category is maybe a little bit of an odd category, but I wanted to include it because I think it's important to really key in on this, and that's layering potential. So many people, myself, I'm kind of getting more into layering. Many people rely on layering to keep warm in really cold climates like Colorado, where the wind can change, the temperature can change. It can go from rainy to sunny, and you really can't just have a big thick jacket over one layer because you need to be able to do things to meet the changing demands of the weather in a given day. So with that said, I'm going to give the win in the layering category, of course, to the Thursday, and that's because of the polyester sleeves. Just the existence of the polyester sleeves on the inside and the ability to slide my arm in and out easily when I'm wearing a thick flannel has me reaching for that jacket when I'm wearing a flannel. Perhaps like this. If I go out, I'd roll the sleeves down. I'd throw on the Thursday. If I was wearing this shirt, I would never grab the Flint and Tinder just because that soft blanket lining makes it very bunchy. And for me particularly, I don't know if my elbows are wider than average, but I get a lot of bunching in my arms. So it's something that really annoys me. And for for whatever reason, it bothers me quite a bit. So reaching for the Thursday jacket has become a staple when I'm wearing shirts like this. And I think even though it's subjective whether or not you're going to use it in a scenario like that, I think it's important to at least talk about that distinction with the jackets and make sure we get a point on Thursday's side so that people who do want to layer and who do want to wear longer shirts with this jacket know that if you go with the Flint and Tinder, you may have issues, and if you're like me, it's going to annoy you when you try to wear it with layering pieces. So there you go, win for Thursday in the layering category. Warmth itself is the next category. So, as you might expect, both of these jackets, given that they have very similar weights for both their exterior and interior components, and they're using the same or extremely similar materials, you might think that they have similar warmths. And you'd be right. It's pretty much spot on. If I'm wearing one of these jackets out in the same temperature, I can feel pretty much no difference whatsoever. So if you're trying to figure out which one is warmer to make that your purchasing decision, keying in on your purchasing decision for that reason, yeah, just discount this. There's really no difference in the two. One thing I will mention though is because of the fact that they're buttoned up and there's no zip, there's no storm flap or anything like that. If you're out on a day that's particularly windy, these really aren't the greatest jackets. They both will let some wind in, although admittedly the Flint and Tinder is slightly better because it has 6 buttons instead of 5, so you get a little bit better closure there. But neither one is great in the heavy wind, and unless you're just a cold degenerate, there's you probably aren't going to want to wear this too much below freezing. So low 30s, right around freezing or 0 Celsius, is probably about the limit for these jackets for most normal people. So push in this category. Okay, next category, let's talk about styling. So at first glance, these jackets look pretty similar, and upon closer inspection, they still look very, very similar. I don't think it would be controversial to say the designers of the Thursday Waxed Field Jacket have seen and are aware of the Flannel-Lined Wax Trucker from Flint and Tinder. With that said, I don't think either jacket has a edge in this category. They both look good. They both strike the aesthetic that most of us are looking for when we purchase a jacket like this. So this category, we don't need to belabor it. It's a push. Now, one of the coolest things about waxed jackets, which I think most of you will agree with me on, is their ability to patina. We don't always want to wear leather, but leather looks the coolest as it ages. But waxed jackets give a nice alternative. And the thing that gives that potential for something to patina, of course, is the wax itself on the jacket. So as the jackets bend and crease, you get creases that set in the wax. The wax will attract and hold dust and dirt based on how you use it, based on how you move, your patterns of crossing your arms or spreading out or reaching if you're working. So really, they take on an individual character all their own. So, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I suspect, and based on my findings, my viewings of the jacket, my wearings of the jacket, that the Flint and Tinder actually has more wax in the jacket itself than the Thursday does. So because of that, I think that there's a pretty good likelihood that if you had two jackets in similar colors and you wore them the same starting at the beginning, I think there's a high likelihood the Flint and Tinder is actually going to end up patinaing more. It's gonna take on more of those things that you do, and it's going to show more of your story as you go on. So with that, in my opinion, I believe the Flint and Tinder is better for patina. So the win for this category goes to the Flint and Tinder. And finally, with our 11th category, we've got an objective measure, something that's not subjective. So that's optionality regarding color and sizing. So the Thursday comes in 5 sizes from small to 2XL and comes in 3 colors. Now, each of the 3 colors I think were well selected. The olive, dark olive that I got, I think is the best of the three. It looks great in person. I really, really like the color. I have absolutely zero complaint. Excuse me. I have absolutely zero complaints with it. The khaki color, I have heard from one person I spoke to that they weren't a big fan of how it looked in person. I've also spoken to people who aren't a big fan of the field tan version of the Flint and Tinder jacket, which is the one I have, and that's the most famous one, of course. So as with any color, things are subjective, but I do like the 3 colors offered by Thursday. Um, However, the Flint and Tinder, of course, offers 7 colors, which I think is nice to have multiple shades of brown, greens. You've got a navy in there, you've got gray, you've got black, and in general, more colors is better. Not every color of the rainbow, you could say, but fairly close. And also, Flint and Tinder offers their jackets in 7 sizes versus 5 for Thursday. They go from extra small, which Thursday doesn't have, all the way up to 3XL. Now, I doubt there's actually much difference in the extremes for the two. However, if that is the case, you could then, rightfully surmise that that the Flint and Tinder line probably has smaller gradation between the sizes, and then you could probably figure you might find a better fit with more sizes available. So just because of the sheer amount of options that the Flint and Tinder has, the win in this category has to go to the Flint and Tinder. And finally, we come to our 12th category. Thank you very much for sticking with me to the end. And this category, of course, is cool factor. So perhaps the most subjective of all categories, the cool factor, I think will be the one that everyone agrees on the most. One of these jackets is in a very popular TV show now. One of these jackets is perhaps the most popular waxed jacket on the market at the moment. And the other one is the Thursday jacket. So the win in this category for cool factor, of course, goes to the Flint Tinder. I don't think I'll get any arguments from anyone, but there's just something really cool about this jacket. And knowing that you have the original, I guess original is not the right word because I'm sure Flint and Tinder didn't invent the wax jacket. Well, of course, I know they didn't invent the wax jacket, but having the one that everyone's talking about, that everyone wants, there's something to that. So in a comparison that was largely very similar, this is one of those things that might help you make a decision that just slightly sticks out, makes you stick out from the crowd slightly more, perhaps. All right, now that we're through the 12 categories and through the scoring, I think you can see as you're following along on the chart here that the Flint and Tinder racked up more points than the Thursday. So let me say a few things about the jackets, though. Both jackets are phenomenal. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. They're both high quality. I think they're both going to last a long time. They both look cool. They both will likely patina well with age. And I think that as long as you find one that fits you right and you like the color, I think you'll be happy with any purchase that you do make in this category. However, for me, based on what I want, which is a jacket that I generally wear with t-shirts most of the time, I want a jacket that has a cool story to it that I can use as a conversation starter if I want. And for me, that leads me towards saying that the Flint and Tinder is the better overall jacket of the two. I like its features better. They line up with my lifestyle better. And I enjoy talking about, the clothes I'm wearing with other people. And I think there's just more to say about the Flint and Tinder than there is about the Thursday. Uh, I don't think you'd be sad with either jacket, though, like I said. So don't think you have to go pick up the Flint and Tinder instead of the Thursday just because it won this admittedly subjective comparison. But you know, when you reach for the jacket, you put it on, and you spend good money on something, you really want it to make you feel a certain way. You want to be proud of it. And for me, that's hands down the Flint and Tinder. So if you have made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions about sizing, about anything like that, if you want to see a certain shot from a certain angle that I didn't provide, go ahead and leave me a comment, and I'll do my best to answer in a timely fashion. So thanks a lot, everybody. Have a fantastic day.